This is a much loved and almost daily used Bamix from the 90s, and it's only this morning. I've pulled this one apart before, and I pulled this one apart because I had to replace the tiny little lock pin there. So I actually had to drill that end out and put a little pin in, and the pin ended up being the end of a coat hanger shaft. But you can see that the end of the shaft here is pretty chewed up, and if you power it up, it's sounding pretty tired. So I'm going to see if I can pull it apart and re-lubricate it and give this thing a bit of a birthday. So the first job is to take the end off. These spin on the wrong way, lefty tighty, righty loosey, and you can see the seal in here, which is going to need some more silicone grease in a little bit. And you can also see where I've drilled through in years gone past and put a new bit of metal in there, which is the lock pin that engages with these little insets. Anyway, it's got two Phillips head screws at the end. Pull those out and pull the main motor out and see what I can see. Now, one thing that is not apparent is, because you can't feel this, is I can spin the end here loosely and the motor doesn't turn. So it's only when you put a bit of force on it that you can see the motor turn. If I just push gently, the whole thing slides out. And there's a bit of carbon crap in there, which will be dust from the bushes. And basically you can see the inside of a Bamix. So this is the clutch that I was telling you about. It's this little cone here. So if I spin it gently, nothing happens, but if I put a bit of force on it, the whole thing starts to spin. You clutch, no clutch. So this should be a pretty straightforward job. Just put some lubricant on the bushes, on the bearings, and reassemble. Now, one thing to check are the brushes, and you can see here that there's a gap there. So it looks like the brushes are good. Obviously they wear out, they're just made of carbon. Okay, so that is the inside of that's the cone clutch basically. Just two components of a clutch. And you can see here that this one's, so it's made of like quite a firm rubber, and that gives it the bite. So you absolutely don't want to lubricate that. It's almost destroyed, and I might actually see if I can put some stainless steel wrapping wire around there just to give that clutch a little bit more life. So the clutch just actually slips off like that. It's a little blade, and I'm just going to use some silicone lube just to try and impregnate that. I mean, obviously silicone won't last, but WD-40 is actually not the right thing to use, so better than nothing. They are meant to run dry. And the next thing, I'm going to wrap the end of this rubber, I don't know what you call it, clutch plate mechanism with some stainless steel wire that I've got. Just wrap it around and around and around, and that will hopefully halt that disintegration. So I'm just going to go round and round a few times, just like that, tighten it up. And the reason that I use stainless wire and not just any old wire is that stainless wire doesn't work harden the way that mild steel wire does. Get my handy little side cutters, cut that off and tighten it up. Just cut that off. Now I've got to bend these two together. Now I've already checked for clearances, and this is not going to foul on any of the components inside the Bamix. I just want to make sure that when I do this up, when it grabs on the end of that shaft, that it's got a little bit more bite. Now just always be careful that those wires don't foul anything. Okay, it looks pretty good. And make sure that that lines up inside, which looks like it does. Now, these spin on the wrong way. So normally righty-tighty, in this case it's lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. Don't over tighten that. Put an attachment on, anyone you like. Don't grab that, you'll lose a finger. Give it a clean up, perfect chrome. Done.